Hello world, it's Wednesday the 27th of January and we're looking at a forecast for soaring from Worcester tomorrow, Thursday the 28th of January 2021. Starting off with the skewed T, I'll call it, diagram of Worcester for tomorrow. We can see we got thermic up to 6,000 feet, a maximum temperature of 28 or 29, wind of about 10 knots coming in from the northwest to the west, and an inversion at about 6,000 feet. 5 o'clock, something a bit weird is happening here. Then convection is being killed off, and we've got a wind shear at 5,000 feet and some wind blowing in at low level from the northwest, but we'll look at that shortly. So looking at the surface wind at 2 o'clock, we can see that the general flow is a southwester. Now what happens at Worcester with the southwester is that we get the Breda Valley is behind this range of mountains and it's in the wind shadow, and you actually get some, say, indistinct or mixed up winds blowing in the Breda Valley, and in this case it's a bit calmer. But on the ridges itself we got 10-12 knots all the way. A little bit mixed up around Worcester, which makes the local soaring a little bit more tricky. And then going to the north, 10-12 knots on the Witzenberg, on the Porterville Ridge, on the front ridge, all the way down to about the tunnel, and then it starts getting a little bit more complicated. Zooming out, we can see to the east, we've got a southwest wind blowing on the Langeberg all the way to, well, George even, and it's still 10-12 knots. To the north, it's southwest all the way up to Claver. 5 o'clock, we can see the wind is coming through a bit stronger now. It's spurting across the Cape Flats. It's spurting into the Breda River Valley through Gap, that's probably Bainskloof, past Villiersdorp, through over the Riffiesonne End Mountains and around the corner from the far end of the Riffiesonne End Mountains. This is probably what's messing up the Scooty diagram for Worcester for 5 o'clock. But the ridges are all looking pretty good. Wouldn't want to go too far south on the front ridge. Witzenberg is good. Langeberg is good. And going out a bit further, we can see past Swellendam, Trudeau, towards Mossel Bay, even getting closer to George. Gets a bit weaker out here, but generally that's all looking pretty good. And still working in the north from Claver down to Porterville and on Hook. Looking at the cloud, there isn't very much. That's a smidgen of cloud in the far east at 2 o'clock and even less at 5 o'clock. So we look at the height of the critical updraft strength. The top of the inversion layer, we see we've got an area in the Breda River Valley that's pushing 5,500 or 6,000 feet. It's working on all of the ridges. The other valleys here, that's still 4,400 feet. It's still quite useful, bearing in mind that it pushes up onto the ridges where all the magic happens. Zooming out, we can see here at Swellendam, it's still at least 4,000 feet and a bit higher on the ridges, and even better out towards Claver. 5 o'clock, we can see these dead areas where the wind was spurting in. We've got an area up here that's got some interesting lift, and we'll look at it again a bit later. At 5 o'clock, same few dead areas, but not anything that's looking like a major threat. I wouldn't want to be down here too late. Looking at the maximum up and down motion, this is the convergence. You can see ridges all working as expected. Nice on the Witzenberg, easy to cross over to Porterville. Nice on the front ridge, on the Langeberg, Villiersdorp, even Riviersonne end. Zooming out, we can see the ridge past Swellendam looks good. There may be a few places where it's faded for some reason, but other places where it's looking very good. And to the north, well, that is also working. Coming in at 5 o'clock, I've got some funny indications also around here, and we can look at them a bit later. I think we've had this one before. Let's look at some task options, starting with Robertson at 2 o'clock. That looks nice. Wind speed's a bit lower, but it's all working. It's quite westerly, but with this convection, something will happen. 5 o'clock, we've got another wind shear event here, probably due to the coastal air coming in, but the convection is still working. Swellendam looking good, but a little bit easterly as you climb up. It's still southwesterly at surface level, but it swings around a bit as you climb up. And a bit more southerly at 5 o'clock, and definitely still working. Going to the north, Tilbach. Winds are quite light, but that direction is straight onto the Witzenberg. 5 o'clock, it's still working. Porterville, quite strong thermic, but yeah, well, still 4.5, nearly 5,000 feet, and a bit of a wind shear at 4,500 feet. 5 o'clock, it's getting a bit southerly at Porterville, but still 4,500 feet and working. Just a quick look at Toes River. Has some options. Just looking at Worcester in the early morning, we've got at 11 o'clock thermic only up to about just over 3,000 feet and still 25 degrees. In the valley, remember, we had a maximum of around 28, so doesn't start so early in the morning, and I see the wind is quite light, so maybe you need to wait until you feel some wind before you start launching. And the last thing, I'm looking at this area over here. We see that we've got, this is now the cross section at 850 millibars. It's showing the lift and the sink and the wind, and you can see we've got wind coming this way and from this side, and these areas of lift. If I go back to the wind that we started with, at 5 o'clock, you can see that we've got a wind blowing into the Breda River Valley from the northwest. We've got another one from the southeast, and we've got wind coming through here from the southwest. All of these gusts are meeting in the middle, and something's going to happen. And it looks like we're getting some convergence, as shown by this one, and by the general high area of the convective layer at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you finish your task and you want to play around and have some light entertainment, you might be able to climb up again and fly down towards Robertson and see if you can find some of these convergence zones. There won't be any cloud to mark them, but they could still be quite fun. I see from the OLC today, at least one pilot watched my weather forecast yesterday and had quite a nice flight up into the Tankwa Kuru. So well done, and I'm glad somebody could make use of my efforts. Fly safely tomorrow and have fun, and you have a good task. You can go almost anywhere the contest director chooses. Enjoy.